The making of everything I am not. I have been thinking recently, thinking a lot. Although I fear that is what I do most of the time, think rather than arrive, rather than land, rather than touch the ground that the thinking is supposedly preparing me for. The thinking has become the ground. I pace on it, I build on it, I furnish it with sentences and sleep on the sentences and wake up on the sentences and wonder why the bed is so hard, why the room echoes, why everything I have constructed from language and analysis and 3 a.m. honesty still feels like a house with no insulation, structurally sound, technically habitable, cold. There is a scene I keep returning to. It is not dramatic, it is not cinematic. It does not take place on a mountaintop or in a hospital or at the edge of anything that would look meaningful in a film. It takes place in a parking lot. I am sitting in my car, engine off, windows up, in a parking lot outside a building I have just left. A job, a class, an obligation. It does not matter which one. They have all produced this same moment at different times. The obligation is over. The next obligation has not yet begun. There is a gap. 15 minutes, maybe 20, of unscheduled time. The car is still warm. The radio is off. The phone is in my pocket. I am not doing anything. I am not preparing to do anything. I am sitting in a metal box in a concrete lot in a city that was not mine until I made it mine by staying long enough. And I feel, with a sharpness that surprises me every time, as though the feeling were new and not the oldest thing I carry, I feel the full weight of everything I am not. Not everything I have lost. Not everything I have left behind. Everything I am not. The distinction matters. Loss implies a possession that was taken. Not implies something more structural, an identity defined by its edges, by the places where it stops, by the shapes it fails to fill. I am not the person my parents expected me to become. I am not the person I expected me to become. I am not the 19-year-old who boarded the plane, and I am not the person that 19-year-old imagined he would be at 24. And I am not the version of myself that exists in the minds of people who knew me before, the version that has been frozen at the moment of my departure, preserved in the amber of their memory, still speaking the old language, still walking the old streets, still fitting the old shape. I am sitting in a parking lot, and I am none of these things, and the none of these things has a weight, a mass, a gravitational pull that bends the trajectory of my day, my week, my thinking, my writing, my 3 a.m. inventories where I open every drawer and count the things that are missing. I left home at 19. I keep returning to this sentence, like a tongue returning to a broken tooth. Not because it heals anything, because the body cannot stop checking. The departure was the first subtraction. Everything since has been arithmetic. I subtracted a country. I did not know, at the time, that a country is not a location. A country is a rhythm, a tempo that the body absorbs before the mind is old enough to name it. The speed of speech, the weight of silence between sentences, the particular angle at which afternoon light enters a room and lies across the floor and tells you, without words, what time it is, what season it is, where you are. I carried that rhythm in my body like a heartbeat, automatically, unconsciously, as a condition of being alive. When I left, the rhythm stayed. For a while. Then it faded. Not suddenly, a tide, not a switch. The old tempo retreating, the new one advancing, and somewhere in between, a period of arrhythmia where neither tempo held, where the body did not know how fast to move, how long to pause, how much silence to leave between sentences, how to be a person in a room without the invisible metronome that had been keeping time since birth. I subtracted a language. It is still there, somewhere beneath the English, beneath the dreaming in English that happened without my permission, the old tongue retreating like that same tide, leaving shells on the sand but pulling the water back, pulling the living part back, until what remains is a coastline I can walk but no longer swim from. I can still speak it. I can still form the sounds, conjugate the verbs, produce grammatically correct sentences that a native speaker would recognize. But the thinking in it is gone. The feeling in it is gone. The part where language stops being a tool and becomes a climate. The atmospheric, ambient, ever-present medium in which thought occurs. That part has been replaced. English is my climate now. The old language is something I visit, like a childhood home that has been renovated by new owners. The walls are the same. The rooms are the same. The feeling is completely different. The feeling belongs to someone else. I subtracted a family, not violently, not dramatically, through the slow math of distance and time zones, and phone calls that get shorter, not because the love gets shorter, but because the shared texture gets shorter. The daily things that feed a conversation, the weather, the neighbor, the price of tomatoes, the small, forgettable, essential details that constitute the substance of a life lived in proximity, those diverge. They split into two streams. My stream flows here, theirs flows there. We report to each other across the distance, but the reporting is a summary, and a summary is a reduction, and a reduction is a loss, and the loss accumulates, phone call by phone call, until the conversation is not about life anymore. It is about the distance. It is about the gap. It is about two people standing on opposite banks of a river that gets wider every year, shouting across the water, hearing less and less, waving more and more. The subtractions were supposed to make room. That is what I told myself. That is the brochure. Freedom, liberation, the unshackling, the removal of the shape that someone else pressed me into before I had the language to object. I was going to peel away the inherited, the imposed, the given, peel it all back and find, beneath the layers, a truer shape, something native, something essential, something mine. I peeled. I found space, just space, vast, featureless, uninstructed space, where the self was supposed to be. The first time I experienced freedom, I broke free. That first morning in a life that was entirely, terrifyingly, ungoverned by anyone other than myself, I remember it with a clarity that makes me suspicious. The brain does not preserve neutral memories at this resolution. It preserves ruptures. It preserves the moments where the world cracks, rearranges itself into a new configuration, and the organism, standing in the rubble, has to decide very quickly whether the new configuration is an improvement or a catastrophe. That morning felt like both. The alarm did not ring because there was no alarm. The schedule did not press because there was no schedule. I stood in the center of a day that had no obligations, no expectations, no walls. For maybe 45 minutes, I felt something I can only describe as pure. Pure motion, pure possibility. The sensation of a body that has been pushing against a door for years, finally falling through when the door gives way. Then the 45 minutes ended. What replaced the purity was not pain, not sadness, something duller, something the Germans might call Leere, emptiness with texture, the active, aggressive presence of nothing, every door unlocked, every direction available. The options were limitless, which meant the options were shapeless, which meant I was standing in the middle of infinity with no indication of which direction to walk. Because away from the walls is a direction only when the walls are still standing. Remove the walls, away collapses. It is not a direction anymore. It is a dissolution. The second time, freedom broke me. Because freedom did not fill the space the chains had occupied. Freedom was the space. Freedom was the absence of the shape. The peeling did not reach a core. The the peeling reached a void with my exact measurements, my exact contour, a void that fit me perfectly because it had been made by the removal of me, of the successive versions of me that I had been carrying and discarding, one by one. The skins were not covering a body, the skins were the body, the layers were the thing. I did not find a void, I made one. Room by room, wall by wall, subtraction by subtraction, until the house was gone, and only the foundation remained, still holding the shape of everything I removed. Here is what I did not expect about the void. It has gravity. The things I removed did not simply vanish. They left impressions, molds, the precise shape of every absent thing preserved in the material of memory with a fidelity that borders on cruelty. Because the mold is so detailed, so exact, that sometimes I mistake it for the thing itself. I reach for my grandmother's voice and find the space where her voice was, the exact cadence, the exact weight, how she pronounced my name with a softness that no one has replicated since, because the softness was not in the word, it was in the knowing, and the knowing left when she left, and the word remains, my name remains, but the softness is a mold now, an impression in the material, a shape I can trace with my fingers in the dark. I reach for the rhythm of a language I used to think in, and find the outline, the ghost of a syntax, the phantom limb of a grammar that the mind still reaches for in moments of surprise, moments of pain, moments when the English is too slow, too heavy, too far from the nerve. The old language was closer to the nerve. The old language did not require translation from feeling to word. It was the feeling. The English is accurate. The old language was true. These are not the same thing. I reach for home and find the word. Just the word. 4 letters, 1 syllable. A sound that is supposed to contain a place, a people, a temperature, a smell, a quality of light, and instead contains only its own repetition. Home, home, home. Say it enough times, it loses its meaning. It becomes a shape made by the mouth. Phonetics. Air pushed through a particular arrangement of tongue and teeth. The word is there. The thing it points to is a mold. The absences accumulate. They do not cancel each other out, do not average into a manageable grief. They stack, they layer. I carry them everywhere, unconsciously, like currency, the absence of a father's approval, the absence of a skyline I could navigate with my eyes closed, the absence of the version of my mother's face that existed before I understood what worry looked like, before I was old enough to recognize that the expression she wore most often was not calm, was not peace, was the particular mask that mothers build from the raw material of fear and the discipline of hiding it. I pull these absences out. I place them on the counter. I say, here, this is what I am paying with. This is what I have instead of the thing itself. I orbit these absences with the fidelity of a planet orbiting a star that has already collapsed. Automatically, gravitationally, without choosing to, without the ability to stop. My daily life is organized around voids. The route I drive to work curves around a neighborhood I do not enter because someone I no longer speak to lives there. The gravitational impression they left in my space-time still bends my path, still warps my trajectory. The object is gone, the curvature remains. The secret of absence is that it does not announce itself. Presence announces itself, a knock on the door, a body displacing air, casting shadow. Presence is loud. Absence arrives without arriving. It does not knock. It simply becomes apparent, slowly, gradually, darkness revealed when the light withdraws. I did not notice when certain people stopped calling. I noticed, weeks later, that the phone had been quiet. I did not notice when certain feelings left. I noticed, months later, that I had not felt them. The absence was there long before I found it, growing in the corner, patient, needing nothing from me to exist. Somewhere in all this subtracting, I built a mirror. I did not call it a mirror. I called it thinking. I called it self-awareness. I called it the examined life, Socrates' stamp of approval, the philosophical permission slip to stand at a distance from your own experience and watch it rather than live it. The mirror was the distance, the glass I installed between myself and the unmediated moment, the thin, essential, life-preserving layer of observation that converted the overwhelming experience of existing into the manageable experience of commenting on existing. The mirror was built from necessity, from survival. I was a child in a world I did not choose, absorbing shocks I did not have the framework to process, and the mirror, the ability to step back, to watch, to narrate, was my insulation, my buffer, my couch cushion fort. The fort was not architecturally sound. The fort would not protect against anything real. But the inside of the fort was a space that belonged to me, a space with walls I chose, a space small enough to comprehend. The mirror was that space. I did not know, at the time, that the mirror would become permanent. I did not know that the glass, once installed, could not be removed, that the distance, once created, would become the default setting, that the narration, once started, would not stop, would run continuously, automatically, like a machine that has no off switch because the off switch was never included in the design. The design was survive. The design did not include a contingency for what happens after survival, when the threats have receded, when the shocks have stopped, when the world is no longer the overwhelming thing it was in childhood. And the mirror is still running, still narrating, still converting every moment into a commentary on the moment, every feeling into an analysis of the feeling, every experience into a report about the experience, filed in the appropriate drawer before the experience has finished arriving. Something happens, a sunset, a sentence, a silence that lasts a beat too long, and before the experience has touched down, the commentary has begun. The narrator is already talking over it, interpreting, placing it in context, stripping the rawness, clothing it in language. By the time I experience it, it is already past, already processed, already absent. The mirror has converted it from a thing that is happening into a thing that has been understood. The understanding is the mirror's product. The understanding is also the mirror's price. What I gain in comprehension, I lose in contact. What I gain in narrative, I lose in presence. The glass clarifies the image. The glass also prevents me from touching it. The mirror did not exist before the subtraction. The mirror was built from the subtraction. Each thing I removed, country, language, identity, certainty, left behind a reflective surface, a space where the thing had been that now showed me myself in its absence. The mirror is made of loss. Every surface that reflects me is a surface where something else used to be. I see myself in the empty chair. I see myself in the phone that does not ring. I see myself in the language I no longer dream in, the skyline I can no longer navigate, the version of me that knew what he wanted because someone else had decided what he wanted. The mirror is absence, turned reflective. I look into what is missing and see the person who is doing the missing. But the mirror does not show me who I am. The mirror shows me who I am being, right now, in this frame, in this particular arrangement of loss and light. The next frame will be different. The next loss will alter the surface. The self I see is a live feed, unedited, unstable, constantly buffering, rendered frame by a mind that cannot stop rendering, a heart that cannot stop beating, not because it wants to, because it does not know how to do anything else.
The car sits low in the empty lot, dust on the glass, a second skin. I count the years by what I lost and call it home when I can't begin. I wore my name like borrowed clothes and folded them where the cold wind goes. I am the shape of what I'm not, I stand between who I was and what I got. I am the shape of what I'm not, and something small still keeps its watch. A country went and turned to rhythm. I forgot the steps I used to know. I reached for a voice and found the outline, just the door frame where it used to grow. I built my rooms to break them down. Quiet hands on quiet ground. I am the shape of what I'm not, I stand between who I was and what I got. I am the shape of what I'm not, and something small still keeps its watch. Under the ash, there's a steady line, a thread of heat I didn't make. It stayed with me through every fall, through every name I couldn't take. I am the shape of what I'm not, I stand between who I was and what I got. I am the shape of what I'm not, and something small still keeps its watch. So let it fade, let it open slow. Let the empty light be part of me. I'm not gone, I'm not
I am sitting in the parking lot
but I
again,
am here.
engine off, windows up,
And I
the gap
can
between
breathe.
obligations. 15 minutes of unscheduled time in which the machinery, having no task to perform, turns inward, performs itself, reflects itself, subtracts itself. I have started to wonder whether I am made of presence or absence, whether I am composed of the things I have, the things I hold, the things currently in my possession, or whether I am composed of the things I have lost, the things that were taken, the things that left and never sent word. Because when I feel the actual shape of the thing I am, when I close my eyes, stop narrating, stop analyzing, stop performing, just feel, I do not feel a solid, I feel a negative, a photographic negative where the dark parts are light and the light parts are dark. I am the inverse of my losses. I am the shape that remains when everything that made me is subtracted. I am what is left, and what is left is, mostly, what is missing. The void I made is not nothing. I need to say this. The word suggests nothing, implies nothing, sounds like nothing, a short, blunt syllable that drops out of the mouth and lands without resonance. But the void is not nothing. The void is the shape that remains after everything has been removed, a negative space, a mold. The impression left in the mattress after the body has risen, still warm, still contoured, still holding the exact silhouette of the thing that was there a moment ago. I am living in the impression. I am sleeping in the mold of a self that got up and left without telling me where it was going. The bed is still warm. The shape is still exact. I fit into it perfectly because the shape was made by me, of me, from the specific weight and contour of the body, and the life and the identity that I carried until I set them down. The shape is the void. The shape says, something was here, something left. The departure was recent enough that the evidence has not yet cooled. I am drawn to this emptiness. I can say this now. I have circled it long enough to land on it. I am drawn to the void with the same pull some people feel toward fullness, toward crowds, toward noise, toward the maximum occupation of every available moment. I am drawn to the cleared room, the blank page, the silence after the last person leaves. The feeling of removing something, a commitment, an expectation, a definition of who I am supposed to be, produces a sensation in my chest that I can only describe as expansion, as breath, as the lungs finally filling after a long, unnoticed compression. The void is the exhale. The void is what the body does when it stops holding its breath. I have been holding my breath for years, held it through the crossing, through the arriving, through the building of a new life, in a new language, on new coordinates. And the void is the moment I stop holding, the moment I let the air out, the moment I admit that I do not know what I am building, do not know where I am going, do not know who I am becoming. And the not knowing is not a failure of the project. The not knowing is the project. And still I build. I take a job. I adopt a routine. I make commitments that limit my options, narrow my horizons, place walls on either side of a path that is, finally, specific enough to walk on without vertigo. I choose my constraints. I fashion my own chains, lighter, fitted, made of materials I selected. I call this freedom because choosing your chains is the closest thing to unchaining that a creature who needs chains can achieve. The difference between a prison and a home is not the architecture. It is the story I tell myself about why I am inside. The walls are the same height, the doors lock from the same side, the ceiling presses with the same weight. I was put here. I chose this. Both sentences describe a body inside a room. One is suffering, the other is calling it freedom. I missed the walls. I did not expect to miss them. I did not miss the suffering, the constraint, the smallness, the particular cruelty of living inside a shape that someone else designed. I missed the definition. I missed knowing where the edges were. I missed the resistance, the thing to push against, the thing that pushed back, the friction that generated heat, that generated identity, that generated the version of me that could say, with conviction, I am this, I am fighting this, I am moving away from this. Without the walls, the pushing had no surface. I was swinging at air, running in a direction that had no destination because the destination had always been away from the walls, and the walls were gone, and away from nothing is not a direction. It is a dissolution. So I built new walls, better walls, walls I chose. I called the building freedom. I called the walls a life. I live inside them. I can tear them down tomorrow. I will not tear them down tomorrow. I need them like I need the thinking, as insulation, as structure, as the thin barrier between myself and the unmediated silence that exists beneath all of this. But the craving remains, the craving for the next breaking, the next subtraction, the next exhale. If freedom were a substance, I would be addicted. The first hit was transcendent, the rush of the unchained, the euphoria of the unconstrained. The second hit was weaker. By now, I am chasing the memory of the first hit, manufacturing new constraints for the pleasure of tearing them down, constructing new shapes for the thrill of discarding them. I am not getting free, I am getting high on the act of breaking. The breaking requires something to break, so I build. The building requires something to build for, so I project a future self, a better self, a self that lives in the next room, the room I have not yet built, the room I will build from the materials of the room I am about to tear down. The circle does not open, the circle is the home. I fear the thinking more than I fear the silence. That is the confession at the center of all of this. The freedom, the absence, the mirror, the void. They are the same thing. They have always been the same thing. I have been writing 4 essays about one experience, orbiting the same center from 4 different angles, generating 4 different vocabularies for a single condition that I cannot name because naming it would require the very machinery I am trying to describe, and the machinery does not name itself. The machinery runs, the machinery produces, the machinery converts the raw material of experience into narrative, and the narrative is the self, and the self is the mirror, and the mirror is the absence, and the absence is the void, and the void is the freedom, and the freedom is the space I created by subtracting everything that told me who I was, leaving behind a creature that is free, formless, mirrorless, absent, void, and thinking, always thinking, thinking about the freedom, thinking about the absence, thinking about the mirror, thinking about the void, thinking about the thinking. If I was to point out the obsessiveness, how I circle things, orbit them, return to the same questions at the same hours, with the same inconclusive results, if I was to point that out, or the lack thereof, the refusal to call it obsession, because obsession implies a fixation on something specific, and this is ambient, this is weather, this is the background radiation of a mind that cannot stop processing and has forgotten what it was processing for. If I was to make that observation, what would I gain? Another thought, another layer, another orbit around the same center that may or may not be empty. The uncertainty about whether the center is empty is itself another orbit. I am circling the circling now, watching myself watch myself, and the watching has become its own form of absence, because while I am watching, I am not here. I am above, behind, beside, everywhere except inside the moment that is actually happening. If I was to point out the escapism, or the lack thereof, because is it escapism if I am not escaping toward anything? Escapism implies a destination, a fantasy, a preferred elsewhere. I do not have a preferred elsewhere. I have an allergy to here, an allergy to the present tense, to the unedited, unnarrated texture of a moment that has not yet been processed. I cannot sit in a moment without annotating it. I cannot feel a feeling without filing it. The experience is still landing, still touching down, and already the narrator is talking over it, stripping it of its rawness, clothing it in language. By the time I experience it, it is already past, already processed, already absent. The mirror has done its work. The distance has been created. The glass is in place. If I was to make a claim that I am in denial, that the thinking is a defense, that the analysis is a wall dressed up as a window, I would have to ask, denial of what? What am I refusing to feel that requires this much machinery to avoid? What is so unbearable about the unprocessed moment that I have built an entire cognitive architecture to ensure I never encounter one? I think it is the silence. I think what I am running from, if running is even the right word for something this still, this sedentary, this utterly motionless, is the silence that exists beneath the thinking. The silence that would fill the room if the narrator stopped. The silence that is not the absence of sound, but the absence of story, the absence of commentary, the absence of the self that the commentary creates. Because the narrator does not just describe the self, the narrator generates the self. The commentary is the identity. The analysis is the I. If I stop thinking, truly stopped, what would remain? I am in denial. Apparently not so much, since I can write this sentence, since I can name it, since I still know, deep down, deep, deep within, beneath the layers, beneath the processing, beneath the narrator and the commentary and the glass, that all of this, the freedom and the absence and the mirror and the void, is one thing, one experience, one condition, the condition of a consciousness that has traveled far enough from its origin to forget what the origin looked like, but not far enough to stop looking back. This is what I was trying to write. This is what the four themes were trying to say. They were not four ideas. They were one idea, seen from four directions. A single mountain that looks different from the north, the south, the east, the west. Each view complete, each view partial, none of them the mountain. The mountain is the thing that all four views share, the thing at the center, the thing that the orbiting describes without ever reaching. The freedom is a face of it. The absence is a face of it. The mirror is a face of it. The void is a face of it. They are four descriptions of the same interior landscape, the landscape of a mind that has subtracted everything that once told it who it was, and is now sitting in the clearing, in the silence, in the space, trying to figure out whether the clearing is a destination or a loss, whether the subtraction was liberation or amputation, whether the void is the room I was trying to reach or the room I was trying to leave. The mechanism works like this. The freedom creates the void generates the absence becomes the mirror produces the thinking fills the void with noise, so that I never have to sit in the silence long enough to find out whether the void is empty or full, whether the absence at the center is a nothing, or a something so total that the mind, unable to process it, registers it as nothing. I have been running this loop since I was 19, since I crossed the ocean, since I traded the shape someone else gave me for the shapelessness I chose, and the shapelessness turned out to be its own kind of shape, the shape of the missing, the shape of the removed, the shape of a life defined by what it is not. But here is the secret of absence, the one I discovered not through thinking but through the failure of thinking, through the 3 in the morning moments when the machinery stutters, when the narrator pauses, when the glass between me and the moment cracks, and for a half second I am not observing my life, I am in it, inside it, touching it without gloves, feeling without the intermediate step of interpreting the feeling. In that half second, the void is not empty, the absence is not absent, the mirror is not reflecting, the freedom is not craving the next breaking. Everything stops, everything arrives. The thing I have been circling, the center, the mountain, the nameless thing at the core of the core of the core, is there. It has always been there. It was there before I started subtracting. It was there before the first departure, the first loss, the first skin I peeled away, looking for the body underneath. It was there before the mirror, before the narrator, before the glass, before the thinking about the thinking. It was there before I was 19, before I was anything, before the language, before the country, before the name. It is the thing the void was built around without my knowing. The thing the absence has been pointing at this whole time. The thing the mirror, on the rare occasions it goes clear, truly clear, free of reflection, free of commentary, just transparent glass, just window, briefly reveals. It is not the freedom is its symptom. It is not the absence is its shadow. It is not the mirror is its instrument. It is not the void is its room. It is the thing that was there before I started making. I am sitting in the parking lot, engine off, windows up, the gap between obligations, the gap that I have been filling with analysis, with orbits, with 4 essay-long meditations on the nature of the space I carved into my own life. The gap is quiet, the parking lot is empty, the sky through the windshield is doing its thing, being too large, being too old, being too indifferent to notice that a 24-year-old is sitting in a car, in a lot, in a city that was not his until he made it his by staying, trying to name the thing at the center of everything he has ever written. I cannot name it. Naming it would require the narrator, and the narrator is precisely the thing that conceals it. The narrator converts it into language. The language converts it into a concept. The concept converts it into a thought. The thought becomes another orbit, another layer, another revolution around the same center. So I will not name it. I will do something harder. I will stop circling. I will sit in the parking lot, in the gap, in the quiet, and I will let the machinery stutter. I will let the narrator pause. I will let the glass crack. I will sit in the void I made, the void that is made of freedom, that is lined with absence, that is walled with mirrors, and I will let it be what it is, without requiring it to be something I understand. I have been thinking recently, thinking a lot. I fear that is what I do most of the time. But beneath the thinking, beneath the freedom and the absence and the mirror and the void, beneath the orbiting and the circling and the analyzing and the narrating, beneath the essays and the sentences and the 3 in the morning inventories, something is still here. Something that was here before I started subtracting, something that will be here after the last wall comes down, something that does not need a mirror to exist, does not need a definition to persist, does not need chains or the removal of chains, does not need a country or the leaving of a country, does not need a language or the losing of a language. Something that the void was built around without my knowing. Something that the absence has been pointing at this whole time. Something that the mirror, on the rare occasions it goes clear, briefly, silently, without commentary, reveals. Something that the freedom, once the craving stops, once the breaking stops, once the building and the breaking and the building stop. Something that is already free, has always been free, was never, despite everything I have written, absent. I sit in the parking lot, engine off, windows up, the sky too large, the silence full of something I cannot name, will not name, do not need to name. The gap between obligations turns out to be the only space where the thing at the center is visible. The only space where the machinery pauses long enough for the signal to arrive. The only space where the void stops being a void and starts being what it was before I started calling it a void, before I started calling it anything, when it was just this, just here. Just the quiet fact of being alive in a body, in a car, in a lot, in a city, in a world, in a silence that has been waiting patiently for me to stop talking long enough to hear it. I stop talking. The silence does not fill the car. The silence was already there. I made the void. I made the mirror. I made the absence. I made the freedom. The thing I could not make, the thing that was there before I started making, is the only thing that was ever real. Freedom, Kiyo.